So we did the Syrian refugee crisis that is currently happening in the Middle East and Europe. And we defined the problem as over 9 million refugees are fleeing from Syria, and they're looking to find, I guess, asylum in almost any country whatsoever. This is due to a civil war that's currently going on since about 2011, and it's already over 2,000 or 250,000 people. That doesn't include people just fleeing who have died. I think the numbers are like 133,000 have actually filed for asylum in different countries. Right now, 4 million are currently living in Turkey, 33,000 are in Germany, and a lot of them are fleeing across the ocean to get to Italy or Greece or any one of those islands just so they can escape Syria. The ideal thing we'd like to have is that the government would start this or stop the civil war and eventually start talking about peaceful ways to figure out this issue, or they couldn't have started it at all and just have peaceful protests and figure it out.
Asylum means like citizenship in another country.
Alright, I'm going to talk about some of the background information for the crisis that's occurring. So before Syria even had all of their current issues going on, they already had issues with other things in the country, such as unemployment, income inequality, suppression of minorities, and suppression of opposition. So even before the current violence, there were already reasons for people to leave the country, but the added violence just added onto it and caused more people to flee. The definition of a refugee is a person with an immediate threat that they are trying to escape. So when people try to leave a country or migrate somewhere else, it's often because they're experiencing discomfort or difficulties or violence or conflicts. The ultimate push is violence. So if they feel that their safety is being threatened, then they'll try to leave. So this is why in 2011 refugees started to leave Syria, and about 11 million people have tried to flee, and the country's population consisted of 22 million, so that's half of the population that has already tried to leave and seek refuge in other places in Europe, which is a huge problem that's here. And then Bashar al-Assad is the current person who's ruling over Syria. So initially, before he became leader, he wasn't interested in politics. He was actually going to med school, but he got pulled into leadership by his father, who was leader before him. So he got voted into presidency, but he ran unopposed, so there wasn't really anyone else to vote for. So he ended up succeeding his father as leader of Syria. And at first, the people were positive about it because he had Western ideas and he promised reform and innovation, and things were looking good. But over time, the people realized that he was unexperienced and he was a young leader, so he lacked, I guess, the motivation to bring about change. So when the change didn't occur, people became angry, and that's when the protests began.
Okay. Looking at some of the root causes, a lot has to go back to what Rachel was saying about the poverty and inequality and how their new president promised all these things to happen. But we kind of trace back the whole peaceful protest and civil war back to these teenagers that spray painted anti-government protests on school walls, and instead of, I guess, just arresting them and trying them, they were arrested and tortured just because of the anti-government graffiti, and the citizens started a peaceful protest just to tell them that everything was right, things needed to change. And this is when the government decided to send the troops in on them and just started murdering them. This escalated into a civil war in March 2011, and it's caused many people to feel unsafe. And it kind of goes back to Maslow's hierarchy. Safety is the number one concern of everyone, and then we'll get higher up. None of them even feel safe in here, and that's why they're fleeing.
So what, excuse me. So what the rest of the world is trying to do to propel the system forward or move this process along, the UN has put sanctions on Syria, saying that they need to release all their political prisoners, put investigators to like in the impunity that's going on there, and like ensure accountability to the people who are executing all these protesters and causing all this ruckus in Syria. But the main thing with the UN is it's like a peacekeeping organization. So if they put all of these sanctions on Syria, they can't do anything about it. The Syrian people would have to kind of go in and say, okay, yes, you can try us for these things that we've done. Only way that the UN would actually go into Syria is like 5 votes with the Security Council, and it has to be a unanimous vote. So if one person votes no, they're not going in to help Syria. The 5 people that sit on the Security Council are the United States, China, Great Britain, France, and Russia, I think, is the other one. 5 people. So they would all have to say yes, and for them to go in and actually help the people of Syria and try to take down the government. But Russia has came out and saying that they support the Syrian executives that are in office right now. So I don't think that they're going to be voting yes on going in and overthrowing the government. And even if the UN did go in to try to overthrow the government and put these sanctions on them, they're, like I said before, they're peacekeeping. So they wouldn't be allowed to harm anybody or use any kind of like weapons or force. They would be there to basically talk, make sure all the citizens stay safe, and it would be more of a security issue for the UN troops than anything else. That's what they would have to worry about.
Okay, so in terms of an action plan, it's kind of difficult because in my mind, this has been going on for 4 years now, and it's only getting worse. And you would think if there was something that could truly be done, then they'd be working on something. But my initial thought was, well, we can't just go in and bring these refugees like to our country. But now, just over the weekend, I saw a bunch of different articles saying that a bunch of states in the United States are, well, there's like governors that are posing that we're going to take in, I think it's 500,000 over not just the United States, well, 10,000 for United States, but for like other neighboring countries. And I just thought that was crazy because, I mean, I don't know. You're just bringing these people over here and you don't have, like, you're putting your own people at risk now. So really all we can do is try to, they just have to hear, they have to want to be better. They have to want to like be influenced by democracy and hope for the best, honestly.
Oh, okay, sorry. Current events dealing with Paris and the refugees. So everyone knows that Paris was under terrorist attack last week, Friday, yeah, last weekend. And those people were said to be ISIS. So those people are saying that they got into all these other neighboring countries and into Paris through the refugees. Paris has been taking in Syrian refugees. And so due to new information, President Obama has been pushing to allow refugees into the United States. But like Alyssa said, a lot of governors, it's like 30-some states or something like that in the United States, is saying like no, including John Kasich in Ohio, saying that no refugees will be allowed to come in Ohio. And he's pushing against that. Now, there are a lot of other states who are saying they will be allowed in Ohio. She sent us an article last night about they're going to try to open a hotel for refugees in Pittsburgh. So even if they're not in Ohio, they're going to be an hour away in Pittsburgh. So it just depends on how you feel and what you want to do. But this is like an event that's happening like right now that's going to affect everyone in the room. In ISIS, when in Paris, there's articles everywhere. All the people who were captured through the ISIS regime said that they got into those countries as a refugee. So that's like a big, I guess, a Republican ideal. A lot of Republicans are saying that they don't want those people to come in like for national security purposes. And on the Democratic side, they're saying these are people, we need to help them. They're going to be under watch. So what's the point? And we're going to be knowing every text message they send out, every person they talk to on a payphone, everything. So we'll be able to keep on a good watch on them. But it doesn't make a lot of benefit for us to bring them here and not and put everyone in the United States at risk, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it just depends on how you feel on the issue.
We got me going. Oh,
Oh,
am I saying this?
I got it.
Oh, I thought, sorry. Well, anyways, kind of going off what Callie was saying, there's like, is that 4 or 5 states that are agreeing to welcome refugees, and all the states in gray have no comment on the issue, and all the states in orange, which is the majority, are saying, no way, like, we're not accepting them. So I think you're going to outrage your own citizens if you allow this to happen. Because if you think about it, think about all the homeless people we have in the United States, and we're willing to take in Syrian refugees and give them housing over our own people.
And just so you guys know, Washington, Colorado, and Vermont, which is the yellow state over there, are 3 of the most blue states in the United States. So for the conclusion, for the time being, this, like I said, this event is happening right now. If world leaders like Barack Obama and Putin and all these people can't decide what to do with these refugees, I guess, like, how can you ask us to decide? I mean, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. We talked about a lot of different ways that this could be resolved, like crazy ways. Bombing Syria, that's never going to happen through the United States. The United States does not want to make Russia mad. We are never going to, this is crazy, very inhumane, bombing the refugees. Why wouldn't we do that? Why can't we go pick up the refugees? If, like I was telling them, like they take pictures, like you see the refugees and people are driving along or riding in a helicopter along taking pictures of these thousands of people walking. They're like, well, why don't you just stop and pick some of them up? I said, because you would not make it out of the 400 people that are going to swarm your helicopter, your car, and they would crash. You would never get off the ground again. So there's nothing one sole person can do. If you go to Syria, you have like a 70% chance of dying through the civil war, through disease, because all these refugees are traveling, they're not clean. It's all like your own ideology, what you believe should happen with all these people, but it's not like one of those issues that can be resolved tomorrow. It's been going on for 4 years.
So one of the things in the current debate, I'm sorry to interrupt, one of the things that they're talking about is not, I don't know if the states are going to have the final authority to be able to say they won't take refugees or not, because the president might override them. But the concern is, what those governors are saying is that whether or not they refuse what they want is to put that on hold, is why they're saying they won't accept the refugees. They want to put it on hold until we make sure that we have good security processes to screen them. The problem with that is you can't really screen all of these people who have been displaced for so long. I mean, many of them, their homes were bombed. How do they have a birth certificate, or how do they have, their references, the types of things that we would normally collect on a person to allow them asylum, they don't have, because they had to leave in dire circumstances. So I don't know how we could ever do more thorough screening of them in this particular situation. So that's the big discussion that there is. A lot of the red states are saying, we will not let them in unless we have more stringent screening, and you can promise us that refugees are not coming through. And blue states and President Obama is saying, well, we'll never be able to ensure that. We don't have the capacity to be able to ensure that. But meanwhile, we have to do something about the refugees.
And they're going like for 2 different places. They're either trying to get asylum or citizenship in another country, or some countries are like shoving them into like a dome, like the Superdome. Like when Hurricane Katrina happened and all those people lived in the dome for weeks, that's what they're doing to these refugees. So it's not like they're getting homes or like they're going to be put in a hotel. Like there's probably going to be 10 people to a room. It's not like they're getting a better life. It just is somewhere for them to be. And a lot of them, like a strong percentage of them, said they want to go back to Syria when it's all over. So how do we bring them all over here and say this ends in 2 weeks? Because Paris actually just bombed Syria. They sent drones in and bombed Syria. So, I mean, it didn't really do much. But still, like if something big happens like that and they want to go home, what do? We bring them here for 2 weeks. So we have to go get them, bring them over here, and then send them back 2 weeks later. It just all depends on how you look at it through the situation.